The pace definitely seems to be picking up as we get into the third episode of Muv Luv Alternative. It's my thoughts on the episode, so let's jump right into it. So as we open up this episode, we get a little bit of English. As we jump back to August 1999, they essentially have overtaken the Yokohama Hive, and as they're exploring inside the Yokohama Hive, they end up finding brains. Like I said, they have this whole English dialogue going on. Dude, actually very well. I mean, I'm actually impressed by the English they actually had in this episode. Now, kind of gets thrown out the window at the very end when it goes, "They are brains." But we'll go with it. We'll take what we can get. This jumps back to Shirogane as they kind of find out he's doing these tests with his assembly of a gun. He's a lot quicker than the other girls, but I mean, I still find something attractive with girls putting together guns. I think a lot of my attractiveness is increasing with a lot of these girls because, I mean, one, their outfits, and two, being the fact they're handling a gun really well. But as he assembles a lot quicker than the other girls, he finds this a moment to kind of motivate the rest of them. He kind of instills in them this idea of, wanting to protect something, that each one of them probably has something they want to protect, and that they should all come together in order to do that. And he kind of notes the fact that he pretty much learned this from them, so he's just kind of instilling what he's learned from them through his entire ordeal resetting to kind of instill that same knowledge upon the girls. He also takes this moment to kind of try to be more familiar with the girls, and then he assigns them each a name, which obviously is the names that he already had for them. I guess he's just kind of reassigning it to them so that he can get that familiarity going quickly. As he kind of established right after this scene, he's trying to move things forward faster than it seems like he had before. So he's kind of noting this idea that he's putting things into place quicker so that he hopes that things advance faster so that he can get to his goal quicker and find that resolve for the future. One of these things is that he goes to meet Kasumi, and didn't really know who Kasumi was before, but now we're apparently supposed to know who Kasumi is. I think this is about the only thing that's kind of unfortunate, and I guess it's kind of an aspect that I don't really know what Shirogane knows. I don't know, because he's obviously trying to remember things of the loops. Like, at some point in this episode, he recalls this attack that the beta is going to do. He warns Kozuki of this attack, and it's him remembering this stuff. And so, I don't know what all he knows. So the moment he finally goes, okay, well, I have some time to kind of work with here, what do? Oh, let me go meet Kasumi. And for me, a viewer going, okay, who is Kasumi? How do we know Kasumi? And so that's the only problem I'm running into right now, is I don't really know what he knows and how I'm supposed to know this stuff, or if I'm supposed to know this stuff. So, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm just kind of going with it right now. I think Kasumi is the only thing so far that's been kind of like, okay, this is out of left field. Who's this person, and how am I supposed to know this person? Or am I supposed to know this person? But anyways, he goes to meet this Kasumi. It's this girl inside of this chamber. She's very kind of, she seems very kind of emotionless, but she does react to him and hides in a corner, ends up kind of slowly trusting him as he asks her what her name is. And again, she's in this chamber that has this brain, and I guess we can make the connection that this brain has something to do with these brains that they found at this other hive. Shirogane goes to meet Kozuki right after this, and come to find out Kasumi is like apparently right in tow with him, followed him right into there. She whispers something in Kozuki's ear and then leaves the room. And he's like, well, what'd she say? And like, that's the secret. That's not for you. But this is interesting because this is the point in which they kind of reveal a little bit about Alternative 4. Obviously, we know what Alternative 5 is. We don't know anything about Alternative 4. But Shirogane notes the fact that he never noticed before, but Kasumi has an Alternative 4 emblem on her shoulder. So obviously she's connected to it in somehow. And Kozuki reveals that Alternative 4 pretty much involves a single child bringing new hope to all mankind, whatever that means. And she also revealed that Kasumi is connected to this brain, that they're some kind of pair. So again, my assumptions at this point is that this brain that has something to do with the hive. I don't know if it's a human brain. I mean, they say that it's a human brain. It looks like a human brain, but that obviously Kasumi is connected somehow to this brain that's somehow connected to the hive, and maybe there's a hope that she, being a pair to this brain somehow, maybe it's her mother or a loved one of hers, that she can somehow get the hive to stop by expressing some sort of bond between the two of them. But obviously that failed. Maybe something can change in the future. But at any rate, like I said before, at some point Shirogane realizes, oh yeah, there's going to be an attack coming up. So he goes and warns Kozuki and tells her, I just remembered something. There's just going to be this attack. And she's like, okay, well, that's cool. We'll wait to see if it happens. We'll see if it proves that you know this future if it happens. And he's like, no, let's do something to prevent it from happening, because they're going to go through this attack, and it's going to take over Yokohama. And after he pleads to her, eventually she accepts, okay, we'll set up a countermeasure. I'll see what I can do to get word out to there to get some sort of countermeasure. I think they ended up kind of setting up things as if it was going to be a practice or something like that, or an exercise. And so they had plenty of forces there in order to counter it. So the date comes up, November 11th. The attack starts, just like Shirogane predicted. They're able to hold them off. They end up letting everybody know everything's fine. They held off the beta. So Shirogane's excited. He's like super happy. Like, I predicted this. We put in countermeasures. Everything went well. He runs into Kazuki's room and says, hey, it worked. And the room's dim, and she's in the corner, and she's like, what do you want? And he's like, we did it. It worked out. Exactly what I remembered. It happened, and we were able to counter it. And she's like, yeah, sounds like it's great for you, huh? I'm busy. Can you get out of here? Yeah, it kind of implies that some people that she knew were sent out there. Now, the big question mark, and something they don't really specify, is were these... She has a clipboard, and there's 2 people on it, and they're both listed as in action, which I'm guessing is killed in action. It just says in action. So the question mark is she mad at him because these were 2 people that were sent to that front line that weren't supposed to be there initially, but because she did that call out to guard there, they were sent there and they died. In which case, yes, it implies this idea that she possibly blames Shirogane for the death of those 2, but are they connected? Who are these 2 people, and are they important to her? And finally, we kind of close out the episode. They end up going to this CCSE, which is their training course. They're supposed to essentially escape from this jungle. They succeed, and so they have become TSF pilots, like they wanted to do so badly. And class rep cries. The other thing I forgot to mention is that, yeah, at some point he ends up bumping into Mikoto, and Boku Mikoto... Apparently Makoto likes to speak of herself in masculine terms, but yeah, Boku Makoto shows up, and she's a part of the team too. No real interesting introduction to her, just, oh yeah, she's out of hospital. Okay, welcome. Yeah, solid episode. Like I said, my only misgiving right now with this episode is that they just kind of like spring out of nowhere and say, oh yeah, by the way, here's Kasumi. And it's like, wait. Let's have some introductions here. How do you know her? Who is she? And what kind of connections does he have? I mean, she just seems like she's going to be the tie-in with the Hive, obviously. Like, she has some sort of bond there. Maybe they implanted one of these brains into a girl, and that is Kasumi. Or, like I said, if the brains were harvested from humans into the Hive, so that they have the knowledge of humans, and she's somehow related to whoever that brain is from. That's my prediction. If you know and you've read the visual novel, you don't have to tell me in the comments. I love the feedback, by the way. Tons of feedback on this show. It's been pretty crazy how much feedback I'm getting. A lot of people explaining things that I do appreciate. Somebody mentioned the fact that this is apparently from a more kinetic visual novel. So my theories in my last episode impression was on the idea that he was recalling memories from routes that he had failed and the reset happened. But in actuality, no, he's presented this as it goes along. It's a kinetic visual novel, which means that it doesn't really have choices. It's not like, you know, you go through like 3 paragraphs and then suddenly you choose, do you want to pursue Maya? Do you want to pursue Crash Rep? That was my mentality going into it. So it's good to kind of know that that's presented as it's supposed to, and not just a information Maya dump out of nowhere based on her finale. Additionally, I'm hoping that we get some more information coming out of Kozuki. Who was the 2 soldiers that were connected to her? Were they sisters of her, siblings, somebody that she had a bond with? Again, were they supposed to not be there? There's also a lot of emphasis in this episode, besides him recalling this attack, that he's not changing anything. Despite him, you know, getting ahead of the game and motivating the girls, all these things that he's trying to do in order to progress things faster, everything seems to be playing out like normal. Like he mentions the idea that, you know, she came from the hospital about the same day. Everything kind of seems normal until he recalls the battle in which he's finally changed something. Now, if it's for the better, that's the big question mark. Obviously, if he does this, then anything beyond this point should be different, right? Because that was a significant change to what the beta would do going forward, because they failed here. They're going to do something else. So anything forward is going to be up in the air. I did appreciate finally getting something new out of the Alternative 4. Like I said, I was pretty much kind of going, okay, can we get to the point where we're going to explain what this is and what significance of it is? So it's kind of nice to finally get something out of that. Again, Kazumi, who I have zero clue about, I'm hoping we'll learn more here soon, is definitely the big question mark that's out there. Oh, we also did get the inclusion of Sumika, which I don't think that we've mentioned before this episode. Apparently, Kazumi reminds him of Sumika. He's kind of assuming there's some sort of connection between Kazumi and Sumika. That's, again, I guess the only other thing that we'd learned about Kazumi is that the reason why he was drawn to her was that, or at least he feels comfortable with her or something like that, because she reminds him so much of Sumika. And Sumika apparently is this girl that is the only thing different in this world. He says that he comes to this world and everything seems to be the same people, just there's beta here and everybody's doing something different. They're different people, essentially. The only thing that is excluded is that Sumika's not here. This girl that he knew in the previous world, the one without beta, that was Sumika. And in this world, Sumika doesn't seem to exist. And apparently, Kozuki has been looking for information about her, and I guess she hasn't found anything yet. Maybe she's the other brain that's in the chamber, and that's why there's a connection to Kazumi. I'm throwing theories again here. You don't have to reject it or accept it in the comments. Again, I'm going to do this a lot. I'm going to speculate on a lot of things, and I just hope people are patient with me as I do crazy ideas and it doesn't match up with a visual novel. Of course, the concept of Sumika does bring up the idea of parallel worlds and yada yada, infinite possibilities, yada yada, came to this one that's similar to yours, yada yada, you willed it, yada yada. Parallel world stuff that I'm sure will get interesting later on. But yeah, that's my thoughts on episode 3 of Muv Luv Alternative. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below, comment, let me know what you thought of this episode. Subscribe if you haven't already, share this video if you can, support us on Patreon if you can. We definitely appreciate everybody that does. And if you can, in the description, there's a tip button where you can support us directly. And y'all take care.